Hey everyone, Wanderbot here, and welcome to Combo Overload. It's an incremental game, incremental kind of shooter. It reminds me of like Node Buster or a lot of the other incremental games I've been playing recently, but honestly I'm kind of hooked on that style, so not really complaining. And yeah, I've got my Wizard VTuber up for some reason. I don't know, it just felt like not turning it off after the last incremental game. I'm very happy with my Wizard bot. It doesn't look like I have anything I can do. Challenge Survival 1? Okay. What am I doing exactly? Not sure. Alright. So... Oh, okay. So I just go up and down, and I just blast shapes. And then I hoover up experience. Kind of tricky. Okay, hoover that up, because we need as much stuff as I can possibly get. What is hurting me? I have no idea. Oh well. Let us train, get some resources, go from there. Not like I have too much to work with. Yeah, because clearly there was something doing damage to the side of the... Oh. Oh, is that it? Is it all of the things that reach the side of the screen that if they make it to the end, yeah, if I don't stop them from reaching the end, I get wrecked. Okay. Well, it's an interesting little survival shooter. Being locked to one axis is an interesting choice. Not a bad one, though. Just an interesting one. I think the problem mostly boils down to... that makes this really freaking tricky. Okay, I'm just gonna grab whatever resources I can. As things get a lot punchier. Oh, and if it's out of range, there's nothing I can do about it. I can't pick it up even if I wanted to. Oh, that's okay. So get some resources. They keep increasing our damage. And the moment I can start one-shotting some of these guys is going to get a little easier. Maybe. And yeah, I can't let them touch me, because that also does damage. But I also don't have too much of a choice. I don't know. It's an interesting mix of things. Okay. I'm just trying to get as much as I can. There we go. Before getting absolutely wrecked here. Can I get it? Ah, didn't quite. Still. Decent amounts. Alright, let's see where this talent tree goes. Doesn't look like it goes super duper far. There we go, so more damage. Fair enough. I mean, I'm assuming these guys have just a little bit above 2 HP. The one immediate problem is... I don't have the pickup radius to stop them. Okay, nor do I have the pickup speed. Oof. Oh, it's okay. And yeah, well, I would like to ward them from reaching the end. Main goal is to get as much as I possibly can. I don't think that worked. I think I really just have to focus on destroying more than anything else. Sometimes I wonder if I should just embrace the wizard, the wizard bot, as like a new brand image. Just draw myself as like a gazillion different wizards. This is kind of a neither here nor there. It's just idle musing. Okay, snag that. Take these out. Snag those. This. Yeah, it seems like the trick very much is just go for kill, ignore finishing things off. Or ignore stopping things from reaching the end. That can come later. Okay, so what else do we have? A little bit of extra movement speed, a little bit of defense. So movement speed isn't a bad idea. Oh yeah, that's much better. Look forward to the point where I actually match my, like, mouse speed so I can have perfect control. Honestly, I think the most practical thing that I can do is really get my my attack damage up to the point where I'm able to one-shot. Let's see. Where I'm able to one-shot each of these things. I'm assuming they get tougher as time goes on. But it's hard to tell. Okay. Snag that. Keep grabbing the rest of these. I'm digging this music. It's, I don't know, I don't want to say it's got good energy because that feels so indistinct. There I go. But, like, it's got a good pacing. It's a very driving song. Okay, do I want to just keep doing point to attack? Yeah. The rest of these are kind of expensive. I guess I'll pick up a smidge of defense, but that's not going to make too much of a difference here. It's very arcadey, but I think that's kind of the merit of a lot of these. I don't know. This is going to sound kind of weird, but, like, I'm really digging how so many, like, incremental games and roguelikes especially have really leaned into the arcade origins of, like, video games. And I feel like that's kind of, it's leading to some really fun little diversion type games. Nothing like big or ground shaking or anything like that. Just stuff that's lightly fun, that doesn't really demand too much, but also doesn't, like, take up too much time. Need a bigger magnet radius is the real answer. I don't know when I'm gonna find that. Let's see, another point. Could be under movement speed, could be under defense. Okay, we've got something else here. Okay, here it is. So what else we have? Magnet force and attack speed. Okay, that should be better. Yeah, so my one problem is I don't actually want to kill these guys until they get closer. Because, yeah, I can't actually gather anything from them. So it might help with my survival, but that's it. Let's see. I never was much of an arcade guy. I think I was just a little too young for it. You know, for me, arcades were something that kind of went alongside, like, bowling alleys and pizza places. But there wasn't really much cause for me, as a child, to go to an arcade. I just didn't have that kind of money. You know, the closest we get would be, like, Chuck E. Cheese's, which, if you're not aware, it's a brand in the US. Okay, magnet force. A little bit of attack speed. Try to get here, but I can't. It's a little bit more magnet range. I think, yeah, I'm just gonna own that. A little bit of health. Chuck E. Cheese's is kind of, I don't know. Like, one part play place for kids, one part, like, bad restaurant. And it was a common place to, like, take your friends to for birthday parties. And I think we only did it for one birthday party. But they had a deal, at least in the US, that I don't even know if Chuck E. Cheese's exists outside of the US. But they had a deal that was actually kind of nice, which was bring in your report card and they'll just give you some tokens for the arcade. Which meant that my brother and I, even up through high school, would bring in our report cards and go play skee ball for like 15 rounds or something like that. And like, you know, that was actually pretty good. You know, we didn't really need to play that much skee ball. Oh, we actually survived. So we get one of those. Which means go up here. We can increase our attack speed by a bit. Drop. Okay. Extra drops per enemy. So that's kind of good. I'm still feeling going for the movement speed. So now we can go up here. Survive for 60, survive for 60. Slightly better resources. Enemy HP per damage growth. Enemy HP per damage. Okay, so higher base damage, better resources. Should be fine. But yeah, that was the extent of like arcade. My arcade experience. There was a couple of places in California we would go to, but it was always kind of like this weird experience. Like going to an arcade in the early 2000s / late 90s, kind of after home consoles had become super popular. It felt weird. Because it clearly wasn't like the intended, or it wasn't popular anymore. Which is why, like, most of them tended to be kind of ghost townish. I don't know if I got a whole lot of resources on that one. Yeah, let's go back and train. I think we just go back to T1 for a bit. But, like, I remember going to a couple of arcades. I think kind of when I was in California. And just feeling how, like, eerie and like they were dark and quiet. You know, you could hear the machines, but there was nobody there. So it was like very clearly like I understand why people do horror games about this kind of thing. Let's see. And so nah, can't pick that one up, but that's okay. Snag that. I think that's out of range. Yeah, mostly want to aim for the things that are close to me. Oh, that's interesting. After you've survived on one of these, it just keeps going. Huh. I guess it makes sense. Yeah, why kick you out? Once you've gained the boss currency, that's really all you need. Okay, I think I'm toast. And that's fine. Oh, was it my shots that hit the edge, not the enemies? Huh. Possibly. Okay, I'll just scale damage for a little while. But I remember seeing like a couple of weird arcade games that I was like, oh, that's cool. Like, some like PvP mecha games that I thought actually looked extremely cool. But I've never actually looked into what they were. It might be one of those at some point that I look into making like a faux arcade cabinet just to see what like actual arcade games are like. I think the problem is I'd rather largely just play video games. But if I've got like a large, if I've got a large enough house, I could consider it eventually as like a small novelty of like, yeah, what was the 80s, 90s arcade experience like? I just think there's a lot of other hobbies I'd like to get into. And so in the meantime, I'm perfectly happy just having like indie games and roguelikes kind of simulate that experience for me as just like a short, repetitive, and kind of pure mechanic gameplay experience that I can get into. Let's see. Yeah, we definitely need more range. I'll start investing into that. The extra damage should be good enough now. A little bit of magnet force might not be a bad idea. Okay. So we could go more magnet range, but not easily. Magnet height. Ooh. I think the magnet system, the push and pull of like, I'm locked to an axis, makes this for kind of interesting design. I remember seeing a video from, what was it? It was the guy behind the Wingspan board game. He does a lot of videos on like game design and stuff, and he was talking about like getting into board game design. And one of the bits of advice he was giving was like, actually give yourself a restriction. It could be like a box size, it could be some kind of mechanical limitation, something like that. Because that kind of limitation breeds creativity. And I very much do actually resonate with that idea. You know, here, because I'm locked to this singular axis, it very much, like, the whole game is restricted to it in turn. And has to smoothly accommodate for it. Which I think is neat? I don't know. And so, I don't think necessarily it's any more, like, special than Nodebuster because of it, but it stands out all the same. In a way that I'm like, yeah, I can see why somebody would want to play this over Nodebuster. So do I want to go for magnet force, magnet range, magnet height? A lot of these are good. I think I'm going to go for range for now. I'm going to keep farming the first tier, even if it's maybe not the most practical. It's mostly just the other one kills me really fast. Okay. I wonder if there's any, like, good retro arcades that still kind of exist. Definitely not in the area that I live in. There's probably, like, one or two. I know Portland had a couple. But it was like the retro game bar, which was okay. I was mostly, it wasn't even like an arcade. That was just a bunch of like SNESs and N64s and Dreamcasts hooked up to each table so that you could play like random old video games. So we were drunkenly playing Crazy Taxi, which was fun. I think I did fairly well. Then I randomly was like, yeah, I'll play Mega Man X. I was like a huge fan of that as a kid. And I kicked my ass 7 Ways to Tuesday. Like, I think I got to Sting Chameleon and had to quit because I was just like dying endlessly. Clearly I should go back and give Mega Man another shot. I mean, my dad was capable of beating Mega Man and he was older than me, so it's not like age really limits you on that game yet. He'd probably have trouble with it now, but I mean, that shouldn't be too much of a surprise. Okay, do we want to do a little bit more magnet force? Yeah, let's do a little bit more magnet force. Then I could kind of consider going up to survival 2. Let's do it. Let's see what happens. Yeah, the extra magnet force and range should make this a little easier. Okay. Damn. Yeah, I should probably invest in some defense here. But that's okay. I'm not really expecting to survive. I'm mostly just hoping to get as much as I possibly can before I'm taken out. There we go. Yeah, the problem is I get so much less, but I get more faster, I think is the trade-off here. 0.5 drop. I'm not sure if that's really worth investing into. Like, it's a little bit, but you have to get a lot for that to be worth anything. I think for me, it's just I hate missing out on things. When I was a kid, I found out about the SNES, because one of my friends randomly picked up a SNES or inherited one, I'm not entirely sure. Or maybe they just pulled their SNES out of cold storage. And I remember thinking like, holy shit, this is a really cool console. because I think they had Link to the Past just available, or available like in the system. And I was like, ooh, you know, this looks fun, and played it for a while, and I'm like, yeah, this is an incredibly good game. Why have I never heard of this before? And so I played it like for a couple hours at their place before, you know, having to go home, and had a very good time with it. And it was one of those where I was kind of frustrated because it's like wanting to find these things, wanting to have access to them, wanting to experience them, but knowing that, like, I wouldn't have gotten that opportunity if it hadn't been for some, like, random person having it. Like, that is kind of good word of mouth advertising for, well, the SNES. But I would have been, I don't know, I guess I just wish I had known more about the SNES as a child. Not that my parents would have let me pick it up, but I feel like I missed out on a lot of, like, really legendary games that I have no knowledge or understanding of. In a lot of, like, old SNES RPGs. I think one of the ones that I remember was Lunar. We went over to, like, a distant relative's house, and they had Lunar in their SNES, and it was, like, the first time I'd ever really played with the SNES other than that experience with Link to the Past. Let's see. Do I actually want to do a little bit more damage? At this point, yeah. We might as well go for that. Being able to one-shot things is valuable. And so, I don't remember actually when I experienced Link to the Past, because it was Link to the Past and like OG Mario Kart. Or not Link to the Past, it was Lunar and OG Mario Kart. And I remember seeing Mario Kart and thinking, that looks pretty bad. But Lunar was, like, incredibly cool because it looked like a really good Game Boy game. Like, full color, high detail, great soundtrack, that kind of jazz. And so, yeah, I'd been wanting to know about it ever since. And, like, luckily they just did an HD pack, HD re-release. Well, not HD. Just a re-release of Lunar 1 and 2. So, I should probably give that a shot at some point. Let's see, do we want to invest in some defense? I think so. It's going to help our survivability more than anything else. But yeah, not having the knowledge of what those games were, nor kind of the access to them, I think annoys me a little bit. Because it's like, how many really good old school arcade games, or like, not even old school, like kind of the late 90s era when things were starting to go 3D, and how many of those arcade games were like actually extremely good that I've missed out on? Bugs me. Because I won't know unless I put like a ton of effort into it, or I get really lucky and find a place that like caters to that exact interest. I know this is like a wild tangent to go on, but like, this is kind of one of those games that you just go. And so it gives me a lot of space to just ramble about something. I've also got a headache, so it just seems appropriate to be a little rambly right now. Hey, we survived. Yeah, going for the defense seems to be the trick. It's expensive, but probably worth it. Okay, because yeah, I could save up for magnet range, but there's more defense. Oh, that's a different resource that I don't have access to. Oh, fair enough. Level 3. Unfortunately, I just need more magnet range. Like, how many resources am I leaving behind because I literally cannot reach them? The answer is a lot. Gotta make sure I don't bonk into these things, though. That definitely doesn't do me any favors. There we go. Yeah, so I've been going on a kind of an old game collection kick lately. Trying to pick up a couple of like older games I had never heard of before. I picked up Summoner 2. Literally never heard of it. I liked Volition, but yeah, just didn't even pierce my like barrier of knowledge. I think I also didn't care too deeply for Western RPGs back in the day, which is somewhat my fault. A Magnet Force could be good. Drop count. No. Probably should go for those. Just a little bit more damage. Because a number of those were resisting up to like 3 hits. There we go. I think part of it is I really like collecting kind of cool things that I want to play later, which I recognize is just probably a symptom of my Steam library. As my Steam library is pretty substantial at this point. And has, you know, a lot of extremely good games on it. But I'm actually, like, not jonesing to play a whole lot of them for some reason. I think it's because I already know I have them, so they're theirs. But it's the other things that I'm, like, trying to hoard. So we got really into board games and Warhammer and some other stuff. And it's been fun. I don't know. I think even just the act of collecting, hunting for and collecting things is fun. I think the issue I was running into with, Oh, we actually survived it. Oh. The issue with Steam is it's too easy. They just hand you everything. Okay. So not perfect. Almost there. Rude. And we also have more attack speed. Okay, so we have magnet height, reduced magnet slow. Well, that's kind of nice. Oh, that's a much thicker beam. Still think I want to go for magnet range if I can manage it. I think one of the other, like, big I should get into collecting old game moments for me was finding out that, like, there were a bunch of really good Digimon games on the PS1 and being, like, baffled by that because I was a huge Digimon fan and I just hadn't heard about any of them. You know, everybody I knew had an N64, so it was kind of unthinkable for me, for anybody else to have, like, another console. That's actually pretty good money, despite the death. That's 0.5 attack. Okay, fine. And so I remember going over to one of my neighbor's houses, because he was kind enough to set me up with, like, a separate save file for Digimon World 1, and I just, like, rocked that save. Like, getting rare Digimon early. And it was apparently, like, so successful that the neighbor took my save file for himself, and I was a little upset about that. But also, like, it was his game, so, like, can't really fault him. And we didn't get a PS1 until much later. Well, we didn't even get a PS1, I got a PS2. I really liked backwards compatibility back in the day. There's something about that that was just lovely. Alright. So what do we need most? Damage is good. Move speed. Magnet force. I guess I'll go for magnet force for now. I'm glad that there are additional levels for everything. So that, you know, I can keep investing into things. Just pricey. Yeah, we desperately need further magnet range to, like, really make this work. And yeah, that extra magnet force is quite good. There we go. It's gonna take a bit before I get to the survive for 30 seconds on this tier. But that's okay. Let's see. Damage is kind of there. Magnet range is just so expensive. Okay, we have movement speed. Enables horizontal movement. Oh. Okay. I really appreciate that, sort of. That also is going to change so much of this experience. I'm not sure if I'm ready for that. I mean, it'll certainly make gathering experience easy. Well, maybe. I don't know. These guys actually move much faster than I do. Okay, can't get more there. Eh, missed him. Let's grab it. It's sloppy. It's fine. I mean, we only had 10 seconds left, actually. That's not terrible. Okay, a little bit more health? Sure. I don't know what collection and everything. I guess everything has to do with me just musing about arcade games. And how this is kind of arcade-ish in a good way. Like, don't you think this would have been kind of an interesting coin muncher? I have no idea how you'd, like, handle progression systems within that. But I can still see, like, that DNA kind of in there. Of, like, the basic Atari game turned into, like, a fully fleshed out experience without, like, too much adaptation. It's really just the fact that you have stats that carry over. Okay, let's just restart. And, like, I think that's really interesting, because how many of you, like, playing this would actively go out of your way to, or watching this video, actively would go out of your way to, like, play an Atari game nowadays? You know, maybe if it was convenient, maybe if you had kind of, like, the nostalgia for it. But say it was, like, just available. You know, put on a store, somebody has it, like, running on a console. You know, you walk into a friend's house and they've just got an Atari hooked up. You know, you might, out of the novelty of it, but would you go out of your way for it? And so, it's weird to me that we've almost kind of come to this, like, weird full circle. 0.5 magnet range, yeah. That, you know, I have video games that literally look more realistic than real life in a lot of circumstances. Maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit. More vibrant, more, like, appealing. You know, I've got stuff like Elden Ring, Lies of P. All of these, like, extremely high-end games. And here I'm playing this, like, small, goofy little incremental game about blasting shapes that are passing by me. And yet, for some reason, I am intensely compelled in a way that, like, those big games don't always capture me. I think part of it is because this asks and demands nothing of me. You know, there's no get good. It's just every run, you just get a little bit better. Like, I know Elden Ring does get there. Oops. Oh, whatever. Oh, I only had a half second left. Oh, it's okay. Get a little bit more health and we'll be golden. A little bit of health, a little bit of armor. That should get me over that hump. And, like, maybe other people won't fully agree with, like, this specific game. You know, this might be too old school, too Atari, too whatever. But it makes me wonder, like, how much could you actually go back to the old Atari back catalog and, like, revitalize those games as incrementals or roguelikes or stuff like that? Oops. You know, could you actually, like, meaningfully revive whole, maybe not genres, with incremental design choices or stuff like that. Eh. Touch me, it hurts. Yeah, let's keep going for a little bit more attack. Be nice to be able to one-shot them, but I think this game is scaling just a little too far, a little too hard for that. And that's okay. Let's see. And now I'm actually lightly obsessed with this idea. Kind of the immortality of, you know, not the games themselves or the studios behind them, but kind of the idea behind the game. Rogue is probably a good example of this, though it's been bastardized kind of hard. You know, the Rogue itself as a game is okay, it's fun, it's got its merits, but it's definitely aged. But like, there's kind of a, I don't want to say like an immortality to Rogue itself through so many games becoming roguelikes. Now, admittedly, modern roguelikes barely look or play like Rogue. In fact, very few of them do, to the point where you have whole people arguing if that's not a roguelike, that's a blank. And like, I can understand that logic. You know, you can't really call it a roguelike if it doesn't actually look or play like Rogue anymore. But on the flip side, at least from my perspective, it's kind of one of those where it's like more of kind of the idea, the practice, and the core concepts behind it. Kind of like how Diablo, you know, Diablo's DNA is very visible within Borderlands, even though they're very, very separate games. To the point where, like, I would largely argue that, you know, apart from the genre shift to first-person shooter, they are actually in the same genre. Let's see, some extra attack speed. Could go for almost there. Or I could go for horizontal movement. I don't know, I'm going to think about that one. Oops, went for attack speed like a fool. Whatever. Actual attack speed is good, so it doesn't bug me too much. Probably should actually go back to the previous difficulty and farm, rather than come here where, I mean, maybe I'll be fine. Let's see. Yeah, we're gonna take some damage here. But I do wonder if I can actually hold on and survive here. Nope. I think that very much sealed the deal for me not surviving this one, but that's okay. Yeah, I think we'll go back to a previous difficulty level. How much did I get off of that one? Not as much as I would have liked. Oh, what is this? Piercing. Oh. Okay, so this is actually doing something that I really like. You get currency from beating a level. And you only get one of that currency, but you have a lot of things that demand that currency. You know, a lot of opportunities to spend it, very few opportunities to earn it. Maybe you get more later on, I don't know. But on a personal level, I really dig that because I have to make choices here. You know, I have to say, do I want piercing? Do I want to go for horizontal movement? You know, you would think horizontal movement would be like one of the #1 things that I'd want to invest in here. And maybe it is, I don't know. But it's kind of neat to have that option and to say, you know, I think I'd actually rather have attack speed or something else. And I think that's one of the beauty parts of like a well-designed incremental game, is to be forced to make that decision and to not know if you're making the correct choice or not. Let's go for some movements. Holy shit, that's expensive. We do need the movement speed. Oh, I shouldn't have gotten to that difficulty. Whatever. This is a lot of enemies that get by because I cannot hit them. And so this is something I often find myself, I don't want to say negotiating for, because it's not like I'm in a position of extreme influence in the industry. The best I can do is just kind of sit here in my chair and be like, hey, this is actually kind of a design issue that I notice a lot of incremental games have. You know, if you're making one of these games, please consider having more choices. Because being able to choose between like an attack up or a damage up, or like an attack up or a movement speed up, you know, it's an option. It is a choice, but it's not a choice. Like, okay, I can either get a 1% attack or a 5% attack bonus or some health and defense. These aren't actually choices though. 4% cleaning. The heck is cleaning? No idea. Maybe it's I get 4% of whatever currency is left over. Maybe that's the case. Let's see. But so here, sorry, I was going back to the attack percentage versus like defense and health. The reason why they're not actual choices is because ultimately it's the same thing. It's like, what's a good example? A choice is something that you lock off another option. Not fully. I mean, like anything where you have to make a decision is a choice between A and B. However, it's not a meaningful one. That when I'm trying to make choices in a game, you know, it's not meaningful if you get both. It's only meaningful if you really are limited. Still don't know what cleaning is for, so let's go for that. I'll go for a little bit more magnet height. We also have this chance to drop a shield pickup. Well, that's interesting. Because, you know, if all I have to do is just wait a little while longer to get the other option, well, it's not like I really have much agency in that decision. It's just a matter of like, but when. And so then it's more about like efficiency and optimization. And like both of those can be good in their own right. Good and compelling. You know, then it's more of like, how fast do I get to my destination rather than, you know, what route do I take? And I think a lot of people can appreciate that. It's kind of like how I would say, Ocarina of Time doesn't really have much for agency. You know, the best you can do is like occasionally make a choice between like, am I going to this dungeon or that dungeon? And oftentimes you might need an item from one to clear another. And so there's not really that much agency there. A greater amount of agency would be, I mean, any kind of RPG with a talent system. Path of Exile is probably a good example. That is an insane amount of choices. Admittedly, a lot of the choices on like an individual level have almost no impact. But imagine Path of Exile where you could just get every talent. It'd be kind of boring, right? I mean, maybe not. Maybe some people would love that. I could see that being kind of a charming thing of like, play long enough, your character just hits infinite level and then you get everything. But you really have to work for that. Easy example, I think, would be actually Final Fantasy X. The sphere grid system, you can get everything. However, to get everything, you have to do like an insane amount of grinding. And do like all sorts of weird tricks to get to the point where you are capable of like reaching true max level. But that is a leveling system that has an insane amount of options available that technically you can see everything, but no regular person playing through that game would ever feel like they had all of those options available to them. So instead you have to make a decision. Yeah, do I want Yuna to be my classic like healer summoner, or do I want her to be like a black mage? Or heck, do I want her to hit things with a stick? Just really go left field with this one. Because you can do that too. I don't think it's very practical. But you can. Similarly, it would be like Dungeons and Dragons and stuff. You know, that you have a lot of choices to make about like what class you're playing, or what your character's like heritage is, or what feats you choose. Even kind of the weapon you pick matters. You know, am I going to try and go for like a longbow kind of build? Am I swinging greatswords this time around? And like, admittedly, those just change your dice and numbers a smidge, so it's not that, like, it isn't that impactful, but it can still feel important. Oh, do we keep going magnet range? I think so. We're just losing a lot of stuff into the void. And being able to extend my magnet all the way across the board seems like a good system. We might need some more magnet force, though. And damage. Ow. Ow. My fingers just randomly decided to twinge hard and my hand jerked down. That's no fun. And yeah, reducing slowdown might be a good idea here. Ah. Hoping I'd shoot it before it could get through. Okay, let's start collecting things. Because yeah, collecting stuff slows me down a lot. So I mostly want to wait. There we go. I think that's the point of going for the cleaning perk. Because I think cleaning just gives you 20% of whatever is left at the end of it. Probably. Okay, do I want to go for some damage? I could probably pick up both of these. That's not a bad idea. Extra projectiles per shot. Damn. And so to go back to it, because I'm getting this extra boss currency, or because I have this boss currency, this currency that I get only for beating levels, which is few and far between, and you know, kind of impractical to get large quantities of, I feel so much more doubt, I think. Maybe that's it, is that you have to be able to regret your choices for it to be a meaningful one in these games. To say, I think that was a mistake. Not to say that you can't have, make a bad choice and then kind of change your mind later. But it's like going to college. It's not like you're going to go to 4 different colleges most of the time. You know, go to the first one and say, nope, this wasn't the right one for me. I'm going to a different one. I think some people do that, and I think they can get away with it. But I know a lot of people in college that definitely did not pick the correct college on their first try and suffered for it a little bit. I actually don't know what happened to most of them. Which makes me feel kind of like a bad friend, but I want to do extra drops per enemy. Because if I get that up, that's, I mean, that is very good. Keep going for that magnet height. Do I want to try Survival 5? I think so. We're getting to the point where I can kind of swing it. I think the main problem is I haven't been investing it all into survivability. It's been nothing but damage. Which, like, is valid. You know, if I want to farm the boss currency, the best thing I can do is actually skip farming entirely. And go for only as much as I can Instead focus largely on just killing things. To survive for as long as possible. Which, like, not a bad idea. Best to kind of gather currency as I'm hanging out. Okay, damn it. Alright, whatever. We need armor. I'll start investing into it. Armor's boring. There we go. That should make this easier. Maybe by the end of this game, you do get to unlock everything in the end, but I kind of hope you don't. Partly because then that kind of opens things up for multiple, like, wanting to try multiple playthroughs. That's one thing that I really admire about a lot of roguelikes, is the constant desire to try a different build every single time. Or the constant desire, the constant ability to try a different thing every single time. This is where piercing would be good. I think I will invest into piercing. Okay, so yeah, cleaning does give me an amount of resources. Yeah, unfortunately that requires a clear token. A little harder to get my hands on. Yeah, I think I was farming for currency and I wasn't paying attention. But considering the number of enemies that are flying through this environment, going for a pierce would probably be extremely good. And yeah, I'm not going to be able to stop everything. Much to my chagrin. But I can at the very least forestall a lot of them. Oof. Got them all. It didn't get as many resources, but we don't need them. Okay, let's get piercing. 0.1 projectile per shot could be kind of good. Okay, resources times 2. Sure, whatever. Let's give it a shot. I'm hoping the piercing helps. It'd be really interesting if you could actually expand the size of your projectiles. Ooh. The bonus projectiles per shot is actually quite good. And yeah, pleasantly, that's not one of those that requires the big meta resource to unlock. Unfortunately, I am going to need some damage before I can stay here. We might also want to invest in clearing. Okay, do I want to max this out? I'm going to keep working on it. Okay, back to floor 5 for a while. And if I really wanted to go nuts, we could just go for... let's see. If I wanted to go really nuts, we could go back to like one of the earlier levels and really just one-shot my way through things. Okay. What was I gonna say about any of this stuff? I don't know. I'm just kind of floating. Yeah, we do want to grab as much currency as I possibly can. There we go. Grab them all. I think part of the reason why I find myself so compelled with these, you know, to go back to the, well, I could be playing Elden Ring, I think I do want to play Elden Ring, but I think that is also very much a game that, like, fits really well with multiplayer. That I think I'm kind of a sucker for playing that game with friends. Let's see. Do I want to go for some cleaning? Maybe. Hard to say. Otherwise, we could actually kind of close out pretty soon. But I've played Elden Ring. Well, I've played some Elden Ring. I had a very grand time with it. But then I broke a controller and felt guilty and stopped playing. Because I was mashing the R1 button a little too much. Oops. That was my nice controller, too. Egg on my face. Let's see. But I've also just played Dark Souls before, like, a fair bit. And so it's one of those where I do find myself slightly, I don't want to say disinterested in games that I've played before. Not to say that I haven't played this game in some capacity before. I mean, there's a bunch of other incremental games, but this still does enough different that I find myself compelled regardless. And it's one of those where it's like, I think I'm a sucker for games that do weird stuff. And I think that goes back to the whole, like, missing out on things, because, you know, there's a number of games back in the day that I feel like I kind of missed out on what made them good or special. And there's a lot of games that, like, haven't quite matched that yet. Easiest example I can think of is, like, I loved Red Alert 2 as a kid. I thought that was, like, one of the best games ever made, and I think I still do. I'd have to go back and play it again to, like, really see where my feelings lie. But it was just, like, a masterclass in RTS design. And I've always found myself a little frustrated because we don't get high-quality RTSs like that anymore. They just don't exist. Sure, there's, like, Tempest Rising, but I didn't like it as much. That it had some weird issues, and the story wasn't as compelling. It wasn't bad. I enjoyed it thoroughly, but it wasn't as good. Okay. I'm just gonna do cleanup, because I'm probably gonna get wrecked soon. Probably. Let's see. Yeah, some more projectile speed might actually be really helpful here. Okay, snag those. There we go. Yeah, cleaning might also be good. I'm pretty good at getting my resources, though. Let's see. Anything else? Reduce magnet slow. I think it could be good. Oh boy. Wait. Oh no, cleaning goes up to level 5. For a second I thought it went up to level 25 and I'm like, wait, can you over clean? But no. Anyway, enemy types. It seems like there's another enemy type somewhere. Yeah, this one. I don't know what that resource is. We don't have access to it. Maybe it's over here. Try to get here. Nope. It's fine. We don't need to. Go back to menu. I recognize maybe I didn't make as much progress as I possibly could, but on the flip side, that's actually a pretty beefy demo. I don't know how far it goes, but like, having played a lot of these incremental games, a lot of the demos only last like 40 minutes long and you run out of stuff to do. This one has a massive talent tree and you absolutely do not run out of talents to keep investing into. And I don't know if there's enough levels to fill them all out, and so that feels pretty good. But yeah, overall, the incremental game feels good. I don't think it breaks a whole lot of ground, but it definitely has that like feeling of I'm investing in a talent tree in a direction that, you know, by choosing this, I've locked myself out of something else instead. And that feels good. That feels compelling. That feels interesting. Even if it is limiting, it means that like, yeah, I've kind of committed to this idea that this was my choice. I don't think going for the extra attack speed was correct, but whatever. Anyway, I guess with all of that said, might as well mention that the Combo Overload demo is available on Steam now, so if you want to pick it up and play it yourselves, just follow the link in the description below. And if you like it, make sure to add it to your wish list. Looks like it is coming out, no, the demo came out June 17th, and the actual game will be out in July, so in about a month. I'll be back for more then. For now, though, I guess thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Alright, and of course, like, comment, subscribe. You guys know the drill.